Viewer discretion is advised. 22 is a true crime podcast that delves into real-life crime stories, which often involve graphic descriptions, sensitive content, and strong language that may not be suitable for all audiences. We strive to present these cases with the utmost respect for the victims and their families. Please note that the content discussed may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. Additionally, all resources and information presented in this podcast are obtained from publicly available internet sources. Listener discretion is strongly advised, and we recommend that only mature audiences proceed with caution. If you are sensitive to such content, please consider watching another video. Stay safe and take care of your mental health. Erin Patterson and the Leongatha Mushroom Murders. Introduction. On August 27, 2023, an ordinary family lunch in the quiet town of Leongatha, Victoria, morphed into a harrowing nightmare. Hosted by Erin Patterson, this seemingly innocent gathering culminated in the tragic deaths of 3 guests due to mushroom poisoning, with another guest clinging to life. The subsequent investigation peeled back layers of mystery, suspicion, and shocking allegations, transforming the incident into a global sensation. In this episode of 22, we delve deep into the case that has gripped audiences worldwide. You'll meet the key players, including Erin Patterson, who swiftly became the prime suspect in what the media sensationally labeled the Leongatha Mushroom Murders. We'll introduce you to the victims, their connections to Erin, and recount the chilling details of that fateful day. Join us as we dissect the intricate layers of this case, starting from the initial symptoms experienced by the victims, through the rigorous police investigation, and onto the public's and media's fervent reactions. We'll examine Erin Patterson's statements, the ensuing legal battles, and the lingering question, how did a simple meal turn deadly? What circumstances positioned Erin Patterson at the heart of this tragedy? Stay with us as we uncover the facts, theories, and unanswered questions surrounding the Leongatha Mushroom Murders. Chapter 1. The Incident. On August 27, 2023, Erin Patterson hosted a family lunch at her home in Leongatha, Victoria. The guests included her former in-laws, Gail and Dawn Patterson, Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson, and Heather's husband Ian Wilkinson. The centerpiece of the meal was a homemade beef Wellington, lovingly prepared by Erin. What was supposed to be a delightful family gathering turned into a catastrophe. Shortly after dining, all 4 guests began suffering severe symptoms of food poisoning, intense stomach pains, vomiting, and diarrhea. Their conditions deteriorated rapidly, necessitating an emergency rush to the local hospital. The severity of their symptoms indicated something far more sinister than ordinary food poisoning, sparking an urgent investigation. Gail and Dawn Patterson, both in their 70s, were the first to succumb to the poisoning. Heather Wilkinson passed away shortly after being admitted to the hospital. Ian Wilkinson, the sole survivor, endured several months in intensive care, eventually recovering after a long and grueling process. The sudden loss of 3 beloved community members left Leongatha reeling in shock and disbelief. The incident quickly drew national and international attention, prompting immediate questions about how such a lethal ingredient ended up in a homemade dish. Friends, neighbors, and the wider public were left in bewilderment, struggling to comprehend how a simple family lunch could end in such a tragic manner. Chapter 2. The Poisoning. The symptoms experienced by the guests shortly after consuming the beef Wellington were both severe and alarming. Intense stomach pains, vomiting, and diarrhea are typical signs of severe food poisoning, but in this case, they pointed to something far more dangerous. By the evening of August 27, 2023, the guests were in critical condition and urgently hospitalized. The medical team quickly recognized this was no ordinary food poisoning. Toxicology reports indicated the symptoms were consistent with poisoning by death-cap mushrooms, Amanita phalloides, one of the most toxic fungi known to humans. Death-cap mushrooms contain potent toxins that can cause severe liver and kidney failure. The poisoning typically unfolds in 2 phases, an initial gastrointestinal phase with severe abdominal pain, vomiting, and diarrhea, followed by a deceptive period of apparent recovery, and then a critical phase of organ failure. Immediate and aggressive medical intervention is crucial, yet the prognosis remains grim. Timeline from onset to hospitalization. August 27, 2023, symptoms begin within hours of the lunch. Severe stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea are reported. August 28, 2023, the victims are hospitalized as their conditions worsen. Medical teams work urgently to stabilize them. August 30, 2023, despite intensive care, Gail and Dawn Patterson succumb to the poisoning, followed by Heather Wilkinson. Ian Wilkinson remains in critical condition but survives after extensive medical treatment and a prolonged recovery. Identifying the mushroom. The identification of death cap mushrooms as the cause of poisoning raised critical questions about their origin. Erin Patterson stated the mushrooms used in the beef Wellington were purchased from a major supermarket and an Asian grocery store. This claim prompted a deeper investigation into the source and handling of the mushrooms to understand how such a toxic ingredient ended up in a home-cooked meal. Investigators traced the origin of the mushrooms, examining purchase records and interviewing store owners. Their goal was to determine whether the deadly mushrooms were mistakenly sold as edible varieties or if there was another explanation for their presence in the dish. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the investigation and the subsequent legal proceedings in the next section. Chapter 3. Investigation. The investigation into the Leongatha mushroom poisoning began immediately after the victims were admitted to the hospital. The severity of their symptoms and the rapid deterioration of their health prompted a thorough and urgent response from law enforcement and medical professionals. This section details the investigative steps taken, key findings, and Erin Patterson's role and statements during the process. The investigation officially commenced on August 31, 2023, as authorities sought to determine the cause of the poisoning and ensure there were no additional threats to public health. Forensic teams were dispatched to Erin Patterson's home to collect evidence, including remnants of the meal and any packaging or ingredients that could shed light on the source of the deadly mushrooms. Investigators also gathered testimonies from the surviving victim, Ian Wilkinson, and Erin Patterson herself. Key moments in the investigation. September 1, 2023, forensic teams conducted a thorough search of Erin Patterson's property. They collected samples from the kitchen, including any remaining portions of the beef Wellington and the mushrooms used in the dish. These samples were sent to a specialized lab for toxicological analysis. September 3, 2023, preliminary toxicology reports confirmed the presence of Amanita phalloides, commonly known as death cap mushrooms, in the meal. This finding was pivotal as it identified the specific toxin responsible for the severe symptoms and deaths. September 5, 2023, police conducted detailed interviews with Erin Patterson and other attendees of the lunch. Erin claimed that the mushrooms were purchased from a major supermarket and an Asian grocery store, a statement that investigators took seriously as they traced the source of the mushrooms to prevent any further incidents. As the investigation progressed, public speculation about Erin Patterson's involvement intensified. Reports began to surface about her past, including her strained relationship with her ex-husband, Simon Patterson, and previous instances of alleged poisoning attempts. Media outlets and the public started to piece together a narrative that suggested Erin's potential motive and opportunity to commit the crime. Throughout the investigation, Erin Patterson maintained her innocence. She provided detailed accounts of how she prepared the meal, insisting that she had no intention of harming her guests. Erin's statements to the police included details of meal preparation. Erin described purchasing the ingredients, including the mushrooms, and preparing the beef Wellington from scratch. She emphasized that the mushrooms used were commercially purchased and not foraged. Reactions and responses. Erin expressed shock and devastation at the deaths of her family members, cooperating with the investigation while maintaining that she had no knowledge of the mushrooms' toxicity. Investigators scrutinized Erin's claims, cross-referencing her account with store records and conducting interviews with store employees. Despite her cooperation, Erin became the central figure in the investigation due to the suspicious nature of the incident and her proximity to the victims. Ian Wilkinson, the sole survivor, provided critical insights into the events leading up to and following the meal. His testimony highlighted the rapid onset of symptoms and the collective confusion among the guests as they fell ill. Additionally, interviews with friends, neighbors, and other family members painted a complex picture of Erin's relationships and potential motives. The investigation extended beyond the immediate incident, delving into Erin Patterson's past. Allegations emerged from her estranged husband, Simon Patterson, about previous attempts on his life through poisoning. These allegations, coupled with the recent tragedy, added layers of complexity to the case. Past allegations. Simon claimed that Erin had attempted to poison him on multiple occasions during their marriage. These claims were investigated thoroughly, with evidence suggesting a pattern of behavior that could indicate a broader intent. Community and media reactions. The public and media followed the investigation closely, with each new revelation adding to the intrigue and suspicion surrounding Erin Patterson. Community members were divided, with some defending Erin and others condemning her based on the emerging evidence. As the investigation continued, authorities aimed to piece together the full story and determine whether Erin Patterson was indeed responsible for the tragic deaths or if another explanation existed. The complexity of the case, combined with the intense public and media scrutiny, set the stage for an extensive legal battle that would captivate audiences worldwide. Chapter 4. The Aftermath. The aftermath of the Leongatha mushroom poisoning was marked by intense mourning, community reflection, and significant media attention. This section details the immediate health updates of the survivors, the public memorial service for the victims, the impact on the local community, and the broader societal reactions. Ian Wilkinson, the sole survivor of the fatal lunch, spent several months in intensive care. His recovery was fraught with challenges as he battled severe liver and kidney damage caused by the death cap mushroom toxins. Despite the critical nature of his condition, Ian's resilience and the dedicated efforts of his medical team led to his eventual recovery. His journey through rehabilitation was closely followed by the media and the local community, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the tragedy. A public memorial service for Heather Wilkinson, who succumbed to the poisoning, was held at the Curranborough Recreation Center. The service saw a significant turnout from the local community, highlighting the deep impact of the loss. Friends, family, and community members gathered to pay their respects and share their memories of Heather. The service included heartfelt speeches, moments of silence, and tributes that painted a picture of a beloved community member taken too soon. The deaths of Gail, Dawn, and Heather left a profound void in the Leongatha community. The small town, known for its close-knit relationships and tranquil lifestyle, was rocked by the incident. Local businesses, schools, and community groups organized events to support the grieving families and each other. The local council provided counseling services and set up support groups to help residents cope with the trauma. The incident also spurred conversations about food safety and the dangers of wild mushrooms. Educational campaigns were launched to inform the public about the risks of foraging for mushrooms and the importance of recognizing poisonous varieties. The Leongatha mushroom poisoning case garnered extensive media coverage, both nationally and internationally. News outlets followed every development, from the initial hospitalizations to the investigation and subsequent legal proceedings. The story captured the public's imagination, partly due to the rarity and severity of death cap mushroom poisonings and the shocking nature of the incident. Public reactions were mixed. Many expressed sympathy for the victims and their families, while others were captivated by the unfolding mystery and the legal battles that ensued. The intense media scrutiny added pressure on the authorities to provide timely updates and transparent communication about the investigation's progress. The incident had far-reaching implications beyond the immediate community. It sparked nationwide discussions about the regulation of wild mushrooms and food safety protocols. Calls for stricter regulations on mushroom foraging and sales were amplified by food safety advocates and health professionals. Educational campaigns were launched across the country to raise awareness about the dangers of consuming wild mushrooms and the importance of proper identification and sourcing. In response, some regions began to implement stricter controls on the sale and distribution of mushrooms. Efforts to improve public awareness about the risks associated with wild mushrooms included distributing informational pamphlets, conducting workshops, and enhancing online resources. As the community of Leongatha began to heal, the broader societal conversations continued to evolve. The tragic events served as a catalyst for change, highlighting the need for greater vigilance and education around the consumption of wild foods. Chapter 6, Legal Proceedings. The legal proceedings following the Leongatha mushroom poisoning incident were complex and highly publicized, drawing significant media attention and public interest. This section details the actions taken by law enforcement, the charges brought against Erin Patterson, the courtroom drama, and the current status of the investigation. In the immediate aftermath of the poisoning, law enforcement authorities launched a thorough investigation to uncover the facts and gather evidence. The initial steps included securing the scene at Erin Patterson's home, collecting samples from the meal, and interviewing all involved parties. As forensic analysis confirmed the presence of death cap mushrooms, the focus shifted to determining how the toxic mushrooms ended up in the meal and whether there was any criminal intent. Forensic teams collected and analyzed samples from the beef Wellington and other kitchen items. The toxicology reports confirmed the presence of Amanita phalloides, the death cap mushroom, which led to severe liver and kidney damage in the victims. Investigators conducted multiple interviews with Erin Patterson, Ian Wilkinson, the surviving victim, and other potential witnesses. Erin's statements about purchasing the mushrooms from a major supermarket and an Asian grocery store were closely scrutinized. On November 2, 2023, Erin Patterson was arrested in connection with the poisoning. She was charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder, stemming from both the tragic lunch and prior alleged attempts on her estranged husband's life. The charges included the murder of Gail and Dawn Patterson, and Heather Wilkinson, as well as the attempted murder of Ian Wilkinson and her ex-husband, Simon Patterson. The latter charges were based on past incidents where Simon claimed Erin had tried to poison him. Erin Patterson appeared in court for the first time on November 3, 2023. The prosecution presented the initial evidence against her, and the case was set to proceed to a committal hearing where the evidence would be examined in detail. The legal proceedings against Erin Patterson were marked by dramatic courtroom scenes and intense media scrutiny. The committal hearing and subsequent trial saw the presentation of extensive forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and expert opinions on the toxicity of death cap mushrooms. During the committal hearing, the prosecution laid out their case, detailing the forensic findings and the timeline of events leading to the poisoning. Witnesses, including medical experts and forensic toxicologists, testified about the effects of death cap mushrooms and the specific symptoms experienced by the victims. Erin Patterson's defense team argued that the inclusion of the toxic mushrooms was accidental. They presented evidence to support Erin's claim that she had purchased the mushrooms from reputable sources and had no knowledge of their deadly nature. The defense also sought to challenge the credibility of the accusations related to the alleged prior attempts on Simon Patterson's life. On May 7, 2024, Erin Patterson pleaded not guilty to all charges. The plea was met with a mixture of reactions from the public and the media, further fueling the intense interest in the case. Erin's legal team emphasized her cooperation with the investigation and her consistent denial of any intent to harm her guests. As of July 2024, the case against Erin Patterson continues to unfold. The legal proceedings have included multiple hearings, with both the prosecution and defense presenting extensive evidence and witness testimonies. The trial is expected to be lengthy, given the complexity of the case and the need to thoroughly examine all aspects of the evidence. Law enforcement continues to investigate the broader circumstances surrounding the poisoning, including the source of the mushrooms and any potential lapses in food safety protocols. Investigators are also looking into the previous allegations made by Simon Patterson to build a comprehensive case against Erin. The case remains a focal point for both the media and the public, with regular updates and analysis being provided by news outlets. The intense scrutiny has put additional pressure on the legal teams and the judicial system to ensure a fair and transparent process. As the trial progresses, the quest for justice and the truth behind the Leongatha mushroom poisoning continues. Stay tuned as we follow the courtroom drama, examine the legal strategies employed by both sides, and explore the broader implications of this high-profile case. Chapter 7: Broader Implications. The Leongatha mushroom poisoning case extends beyond the immediate tragedy, shedding light on broader implications in areas such as public health, food safety, legal precedents, and societal awareness. This section explores the lasting impact of the case, historical parallels, and expert opinions on prevention and awareness. One of the primary lessons from the Leongatha incident is the inherent danger of wild mushroom foraging. Death cap mushrooms, Amanita phloides, are notoriously difficult to distinguish from edible varieties, making them a lethal hazard for foragers. This case highlighted the critical need for public education about the risks associated with wild mushrooms. Mycologists and toxicologists globally emphasize the importance of proper identification and the risks of consuming wild mushrooms without expert knowledge. They pointed out that even experienced foragers can make fatal mistakes. In response, several countries and local authorities launched educational campaigns to raise awareness about the dangers of wild mushroom foraging. These campaigns included distributing pamphlets, conducting workshops, and leveraging media to disseminate crucial information. The Leongatha case is not an isolated incident. Throughout history, there have been numerous cases of mushroom poisoning that have led to fatalities. By examining these cases, we can better understand the recurring patterns and potential preventive measures. Historical cases such as the fatal mushroom poisonings in California and Europe were revisited. These analyses provided insights into common factors, such as misidentification of mushrooms and lack of public awareness. Historical data highlighted the importance of regulatory measures and public education in preventing similar tragedies. It also underscored the need for swift medical intervention and effective treatment protocols for mushroom poisoning. Experts across various fields provided their perspectives on how to prevent future incidents similar to the Leongatha mushroom poisoning. Their recommendations focused on enhancing public knowledge, improving regulatory frameworks, and ensuring prompt medical responses. Health organizations, including the World Health Organization, WHO, and the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, called for increased efforts to educate the public about the risks of wild mushrooms. They advocated for the inclusion of mushroom foraging safety in public health education programs. Experts suggested stricter regulations on the sale and distribution of wild mushrooms. This included implementing certification requirements for sellers, ensuring proper labeling of mushroom products, and conducting regular inspections of markets and stores. Medical professionals emphasized the need for healthcare providers to be well prepared to handle cases of mushroom poisoning. This involved training on the identification and treatment of poisoning symptoms and ensuring the availability of antidotes and supportive care. The Leongatha case also had significant societal and legal implications. It prompted a re-examination of legal frameworks related to food safety and criminal liability in cases of accidental poisoning. The case set important legal precedents regarding accountability and negligence in food-related deaths. It raised questions about the extent of responsibility that individuals and institutions have in ensuring food safety. The widespread media coverage and public interest in the case increased societal awareness about the dangers of foodborne toxins. It led to a greater emphasis on caution and vigilance when dealing with potentially hazardous foods. The Leongatha mushroom poisoning case served as a catalyst for change, prompting regulatory and educational efforts aimed at preventing similar tragedies. It highlighted the need for continued vigilance, public education, and robust legal frameworks to protect individuals from the dangers of wild mushrooms. As we move forward, the lessons learned from this case will hopefully lead to safer practices and greater awareness, ensuring that such a tragedy does not happen again. Chapter 8, Conclusion. The Leongatha mushroom poisoning case is a stark reminder of the unforeseen dangers that can lurk in everyday activities, such as sharing a meal with family. This tragic event not only led to the deaths of 3 respected community members and the severe illness of another but also exposed the potential risks associated with wild mushroom foraging. The case has left an indelible mark on the local community and has resonated far beyond, prompting discussions on food safety, public health, and legal accountability. On August 27, 2023, a family lunch in Leongatha, Victoria, ended in tragedy when 3 guests died and 1 survived severe poisoning after consuming a homemade beef Wellington containing death cap mushrooms. The symptoms and medical findings confirmed that the victims were poisoned by Amanita phalloides, one of the most toxic mushrooms known to humans. The investigation revealed critical details about Erin Patterson's role and statements, along with forensic evidence that pointed to death cap mushrooms as the cause of poisoning. The community response included a public memorial for the victims and a surge in awareness campaigns about the dangers of wild mushrooms. The case garnered international media attention, sparking discussions on food safety and mushroom foraging regulations worldwide. Erin Patterson faced multiple charges, including murder and attempted murder. The ongoing legal battle has been closely followed by the media and the public. The Leongatha mushroom poisoning case underscores the importance of vigilance and education in preventing similar tragedies. It has highlighted the need for continuous efforts to educate the public about the dangers of wild mushrooms and the importance of proper identification and sourcing. Implementation of more rigorous controls on the sale and distribution of mushrooms to ensure consumer safety. Establishing clear legal frameworks to address criminal liability in cases of accidental poisoning and ensuring justice for the victims. Stay tuned for the next episode of 22, where we will delve into another intriguing case of mystery and intrigue. Join us as we explore the untold stories, uncover hidden truths, and bring you closer to the heart of the most captivating true crime stories. Thank you for listening to 22. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on social media for updates on future episodes. For more detailed documents, behind-the-scenes content, and exclusive bonuses, join our Patreon community. Follow us on Instagram at 22crimes for the latest news and updates. Your support helps us continue to bring you the best in true crime storytelling.